sometimes in our culture today, and for whatever the case may be, sometimes in some weak cultures, they're not viewed as leaders. Tell me about you guys' powerful marriage, how he's supported you in this venture.
He's very great at marketing, a people person, also a good leader, knows how to connect with people, more in the day-to-day of the business from an operations, leadership type of style. We complement one another.
Empowering women to empower women. Good morning to all, or good afternoon whenever you're listening to another conversation from the heart. My name is Glenn Leingang, and I serve as the Vice President of Franchise Development here at Touching Hearts at Home. And I gotta tell you, I am fired up. Come on, somebody. We got Middle Tennessee in the house. We got a rock star. Her name is Hayley Johnson. Hayley, why don't you just introduce yourself, say a few things, and thank you so much for joining us on Conversations from the Heart.
Absolutely. Thanks for having me, Glenn. My husband, Brian, and I own Touching Hearts at Home in Middle Tennessee. We just had our 7-year anniversary last year. Truly been a labor of love, and we're excited to be in this business and super excited to be a part of Touching Hearts at Home and excited about what we do. I get excited to come to work every day.
Yeah, I'll bet you do. You know, Hayley, we've met a couple of times, and, you know, one thing that's always struck me about you is just the way that you conduct yourself, the professionalism, but even more than that, it's the culture. When you step into a room, it almost emanates care, concern, really thoughtful attributes. Where did that come from? Where did that derive from? How do you get that within you?
Good question. I think, my raising, I will say, very simple question. My mom was always a very hard worker, a leader. My grandfather was superintendent of schools, always a leader back in the day, and just love people. I think if you love people, you can influence people. They'll work hard for you. One of my favorite quotes is empowered women empower women. And I think, really strong female advocate, empowering women to achieve their best, hiring smart people, hiring people smarter than me, and then turn them loose and let them do what they love and just encouraging them and supporting them along the way.
You brought up something there a few times, and I love it. Empowering women to empower women. Is that what you say?
Absolutely, yeah. One of my favorite quotes.
Right. Well,
you'll hear me say it often, I'm sure.
Well, I love it because, so often, and listen, there is no topic here, so we just go wherever, as you know, I'm like a squirrel, okay? Wherever it takes me, we go. So, but I want to hang on this just for a minute because, sometimes in our culture today, and for whatever the case may be, women are not, sometimes in some weak cultures, they're not viewed as leaders. And I got to tell you, just from my perspective, first of all, mothers are the most important title and carry one of the most weight to suggest that women aren't leaders, and not just whether you're a mother or not a mother, it's irrelevant. The fact of the matter is, how do you weave that into your culture? How do you let your team know, like, hey, it doesn't matter what color you are, what religion you are, what gender you are, okay? There is room to grow, and you are a leader. I love what you said there. Can you talk about how that was woven within you?
Sure. I think you have to meet people where they are. I mean, everyone has different strengths. They have different talents, different ideas, different backgrounds. And I think all of that makes us stronger. And so you have to play to people's strengths, play to their talents. I tell women when I hire them, empowered women empower women. And I want to empower you to do your job and to have fun at your job, to bring new ideas to the table. I'm a visionary type of person. I don't have all the answers. So a lot of times I need people to help me connect the dots. And so, encouraging people to share their ideas, their best practices to help us get to our ultimate goal, I think is really important. Certainly I've always been empowered from a childhood on. There's a lot of strong women in my family, my mom, my grandmother, my grandma. There's tons of strong women aunts that have always been good examples for me. And I've always surrounded myself with strong women from high school. I've got some really great friends that are strong women, and college as well, and even post-college. And I think you surround yourself with people that are like-minded and also but also have different ideas and be open to hearing those. I think it's really important for the overall success of not just me as an individual, but leading a company that's largely full of women. So,
Yeah. So tell me about, because there's dynamics here, and, you obviously, you mentioned your mom, strong leader, but also, your husband, Brian, okay, that at the end of the day, we want to be surrounded by people that lift others up, right? That empower other people. That's what real leaders do. Tell me about you guys' powerful marriage, how he's supported you in this venture. And I know you guys do a lot together and you're a business dynamo, but if you could just expand there, I think this may help our listeners.
Absolutely. Well, Brian and salt of the earth, best guy you ever meet, great husband, great father, excellent employee. He doesn't work for me. We work together, but he's always been exemplary in his career, even prior to this. But he does empower me, always has, very supportive. We are very much a team. We had very humble means when we married, and we've worked together for everything that we've got. And, he's very great at marketing, a people person, also a good leader, knows how to connect with people, and more in the day-to-day of the business from an operations, leadership type of style. And we complement one another. But I think, it's been really cool to see our lives and where we've come from and where we are and hopefully where we're going, and knowing that we've done it together. And, he's been supportive in my career prior to Touching Hearts at home when I was, at the college, and never been intimidated by a strong woman. And that came because he has a strong mother and someone that loved him and taught him to respect women early. And that kind of makes me want to cry, actually, because my mother-in-law is super great also. But Brian's a good one, and wouldn't want to do this with anybody else. So.
I love that. Thank you for sharing that. You kind of got me a little cheered up here. I'm thinking about my own grandparents, and specifically my mama and grandma, and how they played such an instrumental role in my own life. And so thank you. Now, I'd be remiss if I didn't mention, to bring this full circle, you and Brian have young Ella sitting in the wings as a sophomore in high school. Do you guys talk about, what do you do in terms of, trying, I know it's important to you, empowering and talking. Tell me about specifically how you two go about developing those leadership skills within Ella.
Well, we've always encouraged her to be true to herself, to be confident in who she is, to ask questions, never be afraid to ask questions, to reach out, for others, utilize your network, be kind. I think, being kind is of utmost importance. You have to be able to be kind to grow. People always say people may forget what you say, but they're never going to forget how you make them feel. And that's something how we have to try to instill in Ella. And super proud of the kid she is. She's got a great set of friends, going to a great school at Franklin Road Academy, and loves athletics, excels in athletics. And we're just happy to be a part of her life. And she certainly is a part of the business in more ways than she realizes. She's heard us take intake calls and handle client calls and customer calls over the years. And I feel like she could take an intake call right now if she needed to. She's heard us take so many. And so I always tease her, like, you can take over the business one day. And right now she says no, but you never know. That could change.
Yeah, that definitely can change. But what an opportunity to learn a business that's doing quite well, and we'll transition here, but also that you guys just give her the complete freedom. Hey, learn what we're doing, learn our work ethic, learn, as you said, to be kind, to care for people. It's rare that I've ever come across someone that is, what I would consider to be highly successful, whatever that looks like in, everyone's world, but doesn't understand the value of people. Everything starts and stops with people. And at the end of the day, sometimes we read so many books and we do so many things about leadership and about running a business. And sometimes at its core, it's just about how we treat people. And we are in the people business. And tell me about your journey to become a Touching Hearts at Home owner.
Sure. So right after college, I worked in admissions at a local college, and worked my way up from admissions to director of admissions, and then eventually campus president. I was in that business about 15 years. Loved the school business. It parlayed really well with my empower women kind of thing. Also firmly believe that how you use your story to help others is your legacy. I had a really unique story that I may share one day, but I think it just helped me identify with the students that were coming from underserved populations to teach them the value of education, that you can change your family tree. So loved being in education business and what all the connections that it brought me. I met some wonderful people along the way. And, I did that for 15 years, worked a lot of long hours, sometimes getting home 6:30, 7. That was in Ella's earlier years. And, I got to a point where I felt like I'd done all I could for the college. I'd kind of reached my capacity without taking on a role that I'd have to travel a lot more. And that was not something I was wanting to do, to be away from Ella and Brian. And so Brian told me, you can take a year off, figure out what you want to do. And so that's what I did. About 4 months into my time off, quote unquote, I started researching businesses that I wanted to buy or maybe start. And, home care fell in my lap through some research and talked to several different franchise ors and ultimately settled on Touching Hearts at Home. Surprisingly, running a home care business is very similar from an operations perspective to running a school business or the education business. So I felt I had the skill sets in order to parlay that. You have to have relationships with the caregivers, which I had a good foundation of having a relationship with the student, same demographic, and a lot of times same background. From an operations side, from a marketing side, how to get out there. And then Brian was just a natural fit, obviously, from the marketing side, having been his career in medical pharmaceutical sales. It was just a great fit. So 6 months into my year of time off, we started Touching Hearts at Home, and, there was just nowhere to go but up. So we embraced it from the moment, and we're just going to, try to reach our goals and be the best we can be.
So for the folks at home that are watching, how long was it since you started Touching Hearts at Home in Middle Tennessee?
7 years. We actually started on August 27th, which is our anniversary. So it's always easy for me to remember our start date 7 years ago. So we just hit our 7-year anniversary.
Well, congratulations.
Thank you.
Tell me, how has the last 7 years been from where you started, and give the folks at home a picture of, what the business is doing today at a high level, however you feel comfortable sharing that.
Absolutely. So 7 years ago, it was just Brian and I out the door. And like I said, we had nowhere to go but up. We were both leaving, high paying jobs, so to speak. And so we needed to make that up really quick. And so some people were like, how did you and Brian get started so quickly? Or how did you do this? And I just said, failure wasn't an option. Surely we are absolutely capable of failing, and we failed many times in our lives. But when it came to this business, we were like, we got to make this work to reach our goals and to stay where we want to stay and get where we want to get. So I just think we both went in 110%, worked together. Early on, we brought Sandy Gagulski, who's now our executive director. She had worked with me at the college for 15 years. We had a good trust base. She and I complement each other nicely. I'm more visionary, big picture, leadership. She's in the details, management of the details kinds of things. So we really complement each other. So I think we had that tripod out of the gate. She believed in us and we believed in her, and we just came out of the gate strong. And then over the years, we've just added staff and kept going. We knew early on it was going to be about reputation. So out of the gate, we leaned on our personal network, to help us get going. I think personal network is still our number 4 referral source. That for a long time, it was number 1. So I think, anytime you start a business, you got to lean on your friends and family to help get the word out. And so that's what we did to help us initially. And then Brian started making connections in the field. We started hiring caregivers on the inside to get us ready. And it's been a journey. We had a lot of hiccups along the way, took a lot of hard knocks, learned things the hard way. But I think we adjusted quickly and then, made some changes. So you got to learn from your mistakes, right? So you make them, you learn, and then you move on. And I think we did a good job of that. And it's been a great journey, great ride. And super been supported by Touching Hearts along the way. It's a great network. Love our other franchisors throughout the community. They're some of our lifelong friends now. We consider them lifelong friends, and just it's a great network overall. And Brian and I have no regrets about starting the business, and just super excited about the future. So,
and that's amazing. One thing, Hayley, that you mentioned was, lifelong friends. And, in my time and being able to attend some regionals and being able to hang out with the Fab. By the way, thank you. Hayley serves on our franchise advisory board, which is with 6 other folks that volunteer their own time to help make our network better. And just the insights and value that all 7 of you desire to bring to the entire network, man, that gets me fired up. I mean,
It's a great group. It's a good group. Yeah.
Yeah. And so kudos to our CEO, Todd. He's, as you know, he's very big on communication and collaboration. And I'll tell you, we take it very serious and just so thankful for your service there. But I want to hop back on that lifelong, because I've been in franchising for 20 years. Okay. I know I don't look that old, but come on, Jesus. But you know, I've been with some great franchisors. And the one thing that I will say that is so special about this brand, other than the obvious, we have an opportunity. I always tell folks we get to do this. Okay. It's not that we have to, it's we get to. And we get to serve people. Every time we award a franchise, we know, and what I take pride in is we can turn that community upside down with love and care. And that really gets me fired up. But I want for you, if you don't mind, to go a little bit deeper here in the sense of, because I've never seen anything like it in terms of the amount of rock stars, for lack of a better term, the amount of care, the amount of collaboration, and the way that you guys just genuinely care and really want to see our network grow. And where did that come from? I mean, tell me, because it's amazing.
It's a great question. I agree. It's a great group. I would say early on, it came from Renee. Renee Peterson, the founder, original CEO of the company. She set the standard. She was very family oriented, very culture driven, very loving, very kind. I think so. She set the tone initially. I think having her sons as a big part of the business also continued that family culture. And they're both very bright and want to see the business be successful and very supportive in every way that they can be. And so I think, from they set the tone initially. And I think it's just like you say, hiring the right or bringing in the right people to, have different territories and bring in new franchisees that are the right fit culturally, that, want to do this to earn a good living and for all those things, but also to be a part of something bigger and something greater. And I think, some of the ones that, Renee brought on before me, Mark McDermott, Kelly, Franny and Stacy, many more, Brandon Braithas, they were great and they helped set the tone also. And just in our 7 years, we've had more added and, they've been welcomed into the fold, Flavio and John and Jeff and, Craig, there's tons. I could keep going on and on. Those are my lifelong friends that I just mentioned. And I'm just forever grateful that Renee kind of set that culture from the beginning. I think Todd's doing great with it now. He's been an absolute game changer, as have you, Glenn. The people he's been brought on have been game changers. It's exciting to see the growth and it's super exciting to see, the new people that are coming in because, and I've talked to several of them and I can feel their heart, their energy. They are go-getters. They want to make it happen and be successful. And so I think just have that. I think Franny and I joked our very first conference, she was sitting at the big table at the time. So at the time, Renee and Scott picked, a couple of the franchisors to sit at the table with them. And so she was at the big table because they're number one and are and were for a long time. And I said, one day I'm going to sit at your table. And she said, well, you can have my spot. And I said, no, we're just going to build a bigger table. And, love Franny for that. That's what we've done. We've just built a bigger table. We're not in competition with each other. It's good, friendly banter. But at the end of the day, we all want to see each other be successful. And the table's grown and bigger and we'll just keep making more seats and excited stuff. I could go on and on. I'm a cheese ball, so sorry for that.
No, listen, I'm sitting here on the edge of my seat. And because you said something that I'm going to steal from you, I'll just tell you right now, because it really resonated with me when you said it. And that is, it's not about the table is static, right? Like we've got 12 seats. We can't adjust the seats. What you said is so true. Okay. Mm-hmm. The foundation of the table will not change. Okay. We're just making more seats at the table. And it's not an issue of, it's not really that much fun when, we could have lunch or dinner together with the 12 of us that have been having lunch and dinners for, 7, 10, 12 years. But there's an openness and a heart that's been open that says, and thank Franny and Stacy, and I'm glad you referenced them, hey, no, I don't want you to take my seat. I don't want to take your seat, as you said. Let's just make more room at the table. I love that. I'm going to steal it. I like to tell people that up front, but I will give you credit as well.
Yeah.
Hayley
Okay,
Johnson.
I got a quote from somebody. I couldn't say who, but
Yeah.
I learned it somewhere along the way. So you can take it.
Yeah. So now you mentioned our founder,
hmm
Renee.
hmm
So I got to tell you, and this is the first time I'm sharing this publicly. Okay. So last week we had a training. We had 6 new franchisees in just being trained. And I had the opportunity to spend that week in Minnesota. And I got to tell you, Renee was able to join us. Okay.
Oh,
For part of the
I'm
time.
happy. I love that. I'm so happy. Yeah. I'm glad you got to meet her. Yeah. And
So I'll do this quickly because this isn't about my opinions. I just got to tell you, you know, when she walks in a room, you see either, and I can't even explain this, but either you have it
mhm.
or you don't. I
I
don't know why. Sometimes the good Lord above just comes down and says, you got it. Okay.
absolutely,
But the point is, although she absolutely has it, you could tell when she walks in a room, she's got that it factor.
absolutely does. Yeah.
But so often in our lives, we've come across so many people that have it. Okay. But it's got to be a choice to use it. Right. And so I'm just so humbled because you brought this up. I feel like every day that we get to talk we get to talk to our current franchisees that are obviously, you can tell what my thoughts are and what all of our thoughts are at corporate. You guys are what keeps this thing going at a high level. We can't grow without great partners and we take great pride in saying, how can we go deeper? How can we make their dreams, why they bought this business, come to life, like implementing P&L reviews on a monthly basis and so forth. But in any event, I got to tell you, it just got me, for lack of a better term, I use this too much. It got me so fired up to meet her, to hear her story, know her story, but get to see her in person and then to see her sons. Okay. Which you brought this up, but her son, people don't realize this, or maybe they do, maybe they don't, but her sons are with us every single day, playing an integral role in what we're building, what we're doing. And when we talk about culture as one of our core values, it's in our DNA.
Oh,
You
yeah.
know what I mean? It's in
Absolutely.
our DNA. And so I love talking about this, but culture, it's as a leader, Hayley, whether we're intentional about building culture or not, every organism, and I think that a business is a living organism, will have culture. Tell me how because I know you are, tell me how you are intentional about setting the tone for your culture that you're building there in the Nashville area.
Good question. I think it starts with hiring the right people on the inside. I think, your internal team can make you or break you. You've got lots of turnover on your internal team. You're constantly having to train in those key positions. That can really cost you, lots of money. It can cost you time, can cost you resources, institutional knowledge. I think hiring those, and, as I mentioned earlier, hiring people smarter than you and stronger than you in certain areas and letting them loose and letting them do their job. And I think supporting them, giving them the resources for additional trainings if they want it, letting them on their fresh ideas, getting the autonomy to do their job. I think that's important. We do lots of team building activities. So sometimes we'll have painting day, or we'll go axe throwing, or, those kinds of things, just to kind of keep the culture moving on the inside. And I think outside of that, it's got to be a key culture with their caregivers. So many people take our caregivers for granted. And at the end of the day, they are why we are able to do what we do. We couldn't do it without them. And so, early on, again, kind of treating it like the school business, we realized we've got to love on our caregivers. We've got to be the standard. Sandy likes to call it the Chick-fil-A of home care. And so that's what we try to be in hiring our caregivers, hiring caregivers that truly have a passion for serving others, have a compassion for our elderly community, but then loving on them and giving them the support they need, outside of just, hey, let's come to orientation and here you go, turn loose, go take care of, our elderly. So we do quarterly caregiver meetings. So we bring our caregivers in, love on them, pass out awards, give promo items, do some type of additional hands-on training. We do caregiver of the month, just constantly, if we get a positive review from a client, we share it with them. send $10 gift cards here and there just randomly. Anything we can to love on our caregivers. I think that goes a long way. Certainly pay helps, and we try to be at the top of the industry on that. But I firmly believe it's not all of that. I feel like we create that culture. 47% of our caregivers have been with us a year or more. And, this industry, it sounds low, but if you know the industry, that's high. That's really high. And I think it goes back to our culture that, again, starts with the internal team and that feeds over into the caregivers. And then ultimately our referral partners see it. They see that our caregivers are invested. They see that if we have an issue and they have to call the office, that we're going to respond quickly. So I think just creating that culture, meeting people where they are, loving on them, and then ultimately being kind. At the end of we have a staff meeting once a month. The last quote of the slide every single time is lead with the heart and the outcomes will come. And I think if we're making choices from the heart every day, then, we're going to be successful. If we're making them for the right reasons, whether that be, taking care of our caregivers, giving the client a benefit of the doubt on a billing issue or any of those things, if we're making decisions come from the heart, and empowering our people, I think that's really key to building successful culture and something we're super proud of here. And, we're just going to continue building it and sharing any way we can. You guys, by every metric, are certainly doing a phenomenal job. And you're very welcome. And I want you to know that there are 9 people, and I hate to use the term corporate, but there are 9 people that are your partners that are in offices throughout America, but most of which are in Minnesota, that are standing and applauding you and the rest of our folks. I want you to know that. Thank you so much. Tell me about, you guys received quite a prestigious award from Pulse. Mm-hmm. Tell me about that. Well, it's Home Care Pulse, now Activated Insights, gives out awards every year. So we have to pay to be part of the program. And so what they do is they solicit our caregivers. They do a third-party interview of our caregivers once a month, pool of our caregivers. They ask them things like, how do you enjoy working for Touching Hearts? Do you like the training you received? Would you recommend someone to work for Touching Hearts? Those kinds of things. They also do a survey of our clients and ask them the same things. How is the communication from the office staff? How are your caregivers well trained? Would you recommend Touching Hearts at home? So, those are third-party vendors. We like to tell our clients and caregivers, give honest feedback. We can't fix things we don't know about. And so, again, if we hear something we don't like or are not happy with the result, then we go to the address the issue and figure out how we can improve. So you have to use that feedback in that way also. But, over the years, we've been very lucky to have received, caregiver, good reviews and clients. So we've always gotten the caregiver, provider of choice, the caregiver award, and then we've gotten the client reward. This year we got the best of both, or both combined. That was super exciting, the first time to get that. And that's just kind of, combining both, caregiver reviews and client reviews and, maintaining a certain score in both areas. So we're super proud of that this year. We were growing in the process, so we're constantly onboarding caregivers. So you never know what kind of feedback you're going to get. Same thing growing our client base. But we were pleased with the results, and we're on track to do it again this year. So we've got several months before that closes out, but we're on track. So hopefully these next several months will go strong. I'm sure they will. And we're looking forward to hearing all about it. I gotta say, I'm trying to be like Kelly George. We're trying to be like Kelly George when we grow up. So Dayton's got it figured out. So Kelly, we're coming. Great job, Kelly. Kelly is, it's rare that I'm a positive person. And I got to tell you, I like talking with people that inspire me, people that are also positive. I'm not really big on negativity. And although we don't avoid it, we got to address issues. But Kelly, you mentioned Kelly George. I have these conversations, and quite frankly, it's not enough. Like, part of my job, I get so busy, like we all are. Sometimes I need to just set some time in my own calendar just to talk to our partners, and just because you guys inspire the heck out of me. You talk to Ryan Fensler for 2 minutes and I want to run through a wall. You know what I mean? Kelly George, she's always so encouraging to me, and the way that she loves this system, and really a product of Renee, and the way that you guys all build each other up. That's what it's about. That's why you get into franchising, and we're doing this in such a beautiful way and making a true impact. Now, I got to conclude with this. Well, let me throw you a curveball. Okay. I'm ready. I know you are. You're handling, by the way, the hair looks great. Okay. Oh, thank you.
Haley told me, I hope she doesn't mind me sharing this. She said, Glenn, is this going to be on camera or off camera? Last week she emailed me. I said, well, it'll be on camera. And she goes, okay, I need to know when I need to get my hair did. I love
Yeah,
that.
it's one benefit of, working, in my own business. I don't have to get all dressed up corporate every day, right?
Well, so Apple Blossom.
Mm-hmm.
Does that name ring a bell?
Don't think so.
Apple Blossom Florist.
It does not.
I'd like to conclude with this. We've got a big event, a huge annual event that's coming up in almost 30 days or so, 30, 45 days, whatever it is. It's in your hometown.
Super excited. Yeah.
Tell me what the folks can expect. Tell me if you're fired up about it. It's our annual conference. Why don't you just give the folks at home who may be watching this just a little bit of our culture, a little bit of how we do things, and the fact that it's in beautiful Nashville.
I love it. Well, Brian and I are super excited that everybody's coming to Nashville. We love our city. We lived here over 20 years and just seen Nashville grow and evolve over the years. And so it's been super fun. So we love it anytime anybody comes to Nashville. So I know Todd and Ramona have lots of great things planned for us. That's going to be fun. And anytime our network comes together, it's a blast. So I encourage everybody that can come. We learn, we grow. We leave there better. The networking in and of itself and the connections, are life changing. They're important for, having people to call on after the conference and until you meet again. And so we're super excited about Nashville. I think everybody's going to have a big time. I know Todd's got things planned like the pedal taxi and cool dinners and live music and all things Nashville, but also seeing that agenda for the meeting. And I think it's the best agenda we've had yet. Lots of exciting things coming down the pipe that are only going to help us all better, make us better and learn and grow. So we can't wait to have everybody. So if you want to come in early, Brian and I will be here. We'll be glad to show you around and do some honky tonky and whatever you'd like to do.
Well, that's awesome. Hayley Johnson, thank you for empowering people. Thank you for empowering women. Thank you for making a difference in the lives of countless people. It's an honor to know you and to be called a friend. And I say that with all sincerity. The best days are ahead of us. Thank you for taking the time out of your busy schedule. My name is Glenn Leingang. This was another Conversation from the Heart with our guest, our esteemed guest, Miss Hayley Johnson.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.